Looking at this weekend's release schedule, I thought Good Boys was going to be the funniest comedy of the weekend. Turns out, I have so far been proven wrong. 47 Meters Down Uncaged is directed by Johannes Roberts and stars Sophie Nellis, Sistine Rose Stallone, Corinne Fox, Brienne Chu, and John Corbett. Everything about this movie is grossly incompetent. It is easily one of the most unintentionally funny movies I have ever seen in the theaters. I found the musical score and overall sound design to be all across the board and ranging levels of awful quality. The editing was so bad that you could tell when another terrible jump scare was about to come because all of the background noise and music would suddenly stop, cut out, and a horribly rendered shark would glide across the screen. That being said, this movie is one of the worst examples of CGI I have seen all year in the theater cinema. Everything that is recreated in post looks horrendously fake. The shots choose to linger on fake sharks and fake climbing hooks for an uncomfortable amount of time, screaming in the face of the audience that this shit is fake. On top of that, the directing, like I said, is grossly incompetent. All the shots look weird or positioned weird or framed weird, or they stay on a single shot of characters walking away from a beach for an uncomfortable amount of time. Every shot in this movie lingers for way too long. It should have been cut, it should have been edited, but the director made the choice to keep that shot going for an uncomfortable amount of time, and it's blatant and there all throughout this movie, and it's the only thing I noticed. Speaking of fake, however, the acting was atrocious. Every actor felt out of place and had no ability to act whatsoever. Their delivery felt either calm or uninspired way too many times, especially from John Corbett. He might be the worst actor I have seen in a movie all year. Everyone just flat out stunk, no matter if he had one line or 200. Everyone in this movie was shit for acting. Everybody. Nobody is spared. None of the girls are all terrible. On top of all this, the logic for this movie makes zero sense. And I know what you're going to say. But Ron, you have to suspend disbelief. It's just a shark movie. Yeah, well, the writers could have tried to give half of a shit about the movie they were writing at the same time. There are no dead bodies, no blood lingers in the water after the kill. There is no way in hell that the scuba gear they are wearing in this movie would allow any of them to hear or communicate a single thing to each other. Characters just talk. I looked. There's no earpieces in their ears. There's nothing covering their ears in the scuba masks. Whenever you see scuba divers in like Planet Earth or one of those nature documentaries, they're not speaking to each other. They're using hand signals to communicate. That's because they can't fucking hear each other. But magically in this movie, without no sound equipment in their helmets or in the scuba mask, they can magically hear what they're saying as if it's being transported through the water. It's fucking mind-numbing. This entire movie had me scratching my head at shit like this. On top of all of that, simply put, a great white shark would not be able to live and survive in an underground cave such as this. There would not be enough food for them to survive, and they would not be able to grow to the size that they need to be to survive in said cave. And even if all of that was possible, 10 plus sharks would not be able to survive in this environment. Simply put, the logic of this movie is horribly broken. This movie is just a general nightmare for everyone involved. It is incompetent, amateurish, lazy, cheap, and fucking boring. The only positive things I could possibly say about this movie is that it is interesting to see an entire movie filmed almost completely underwater the entire time. It was cool to see something like that on this high of a budget be released in theaters that's all filmed underwater and looks, for the most part, somewhat convincing. And there was one cool shot at the beginning of the third act where three characters are swimming down into a black abyss with a blinking red light. I like the way it was framed. I like the way it was shot. It looked cool. It looked tense. But then they fuck it up with another fake shark. The tone of this movie is unplaceable. Scenes will cut, actors will say something cheesy or corny, and then it'll be back to high tense action, music like that. It's horribly toned the entire movie. And that's the worst part. 47 Meters Down Uncaged is a tonal mess and will end up on my worst movie of the year list. I'm going to give it a 1.5 out of 10.